This is your weekly guidance using the Gipsy cards and the tarot. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thank you for being here. We're going to start with the Gipsy cards. And before we dive in, let me remind you that the best way to support this channel is by booking a tarot reading on my website. But I also appreciate if you subscribe, like this video, or leave a comment. So what we're doing here is we're using the Gipsy cards to give us some information about the topic that we need to talk about today. And then we're going to use the tarot to go deeper. So let's have a look. Okay, so the topic is visit, laatogatage, bezoek, visiter, posieta, visita. So, what does it mean when somebody visits you? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it a pleasant feeling that comes up, or is it somewhat uncomfortable? What are some of the feelings, memories, sensations associated with this concept? So let's think about that for a little bit. It can certainly be an incredibly joyful and positive thing to have a visitor or to visit somebody else. It's the act of, one, allowing somebody to be present in your space, or to go to somebody else and participate in their world, to be a part of their energy. So I think at the core of this concept of visitation is trust. Both acts, whether it's receptive or active, require that you trust the other person. You trust them enough to allow them to participate in your space. You invite them in. And it also requires trust that when you go to their place, whether this is a physical location or more of a psychological space, a spiritual place, that whenever you go there, you're going to have a good experience, that they're going to be welcoming you. So let's see what the message is for this week regarding this. And if you have a visit coming up, if you're anticipating the visit of someone, or if you are about to visit someone, this card is going to be your guidance. Okay, so we have the Nine of Cups showing up. And this is telling me that the most important thing to think about, whether it's you receiving someone or you going to someone else, the most important thing, the primary thing that you can take accountability for, or that you can be responsible for, is your own joy and your own comfort. It is your responsibility to take up as much space in this interaction as you need. So, I'm from Central Eastern Europe, and in our culture, I think this is typical of the Balkans in general, or this Central European region in general. Whenever you visit someone else's house, or whenever you're the host, there's always this sense of awkwardness on both sides. And there's this really careful dance around what is permitted and what is not permitted. As a visitor, you're trying to take up as little space as possible so as not to feel too imposing. And it's the host's task to make you feel at ease, to kind of push you to accept gifts or to accept food or beverages, or to make you feel comfortable. Now, I feel like this card is the counter thesis to this kind of thinking, where you as the individual are trying to outsource the responsibility of making you feel comfortable to the other person. So with the Nine of Cups, the message is that you are forging your own happiness in every situation. And it is completely acceptable and healthy and fine to try to make yourself feel good in a situation, to actively seek out ways in which you can feel comfortable. I am a big fan of Rick Glassman. I don't know if you guys know him. He's the host of the Take Your Shoes Off podcast. It's a comedy podcast. But every now and then he goes into these kind of psychological or philosophical topics. And one idea that he shared really stuck with me. And it's the idea of respect. So this is, I think this is a kind of a novel idea of, at least for me, at least with my cultural background. The idea is that the way that you can best respect another person is by way of making yourself comfortable around them and not expecting them to have to make space for you necessarily. At least I hope that I'm not mixing it up and it was his idea. I might have heard it somewhere else, but the fact remains. This is a different perspective. So if you have, let's break it down and make it really simple. If you have a preference for something in a situation, you would like to have your drink in a certain kind of way, or you would like to sit in a certain position that makes you feel at home, at ease. If you do it, if you quote unquote strive to make yourself comfortable, it's a sign that you want this situation to go well for both parties, and that you're trying to be yourself in the situation. You're giving the gift of authenticity to the other person. Of course, this is kind of a balancing act because you're trying not to offend anybody. So it's important to always try to build a mutual understanding around these situations, no matter how small or insignificant these situations may seem. It's important that you and the other person are on the same page, that there's a consensus. But the gist of it is that it's your task to feel your feelings, to know what will put you in a better mood, what will help you relax in the situation. Whether you're the host or the guest, doesn't matter. And if you cross some boundaries, you can trust the other person to let you know. So there's this mutual respect of honesty on both sides. So if you go into this interaction with the knowledge and the decision that you are going to take responsibility for your own happiness in it, it's going to go really well. There's a good potential that it's going to be incredibly pleasant and emotionally nurturing. I hope you enjoy this reading. I wish you a great week. Best of luck, and see you next week.